And staying with the story, a Cape Town Law Enforcement Advancement Plan officer was killed in a drive-by shooting in Nyanga on Friday while he and his colleagues were carrying out patrols amid the ongoing taxi stairway. Now, the motive for the killing is still unknown and investigations are still ongoing, but Western Cape Police could not rule out the possibility that the shooting was related to the stairways. For more on this, very pleased to be joined by Western Cape Police Oversight and Community Safety MEC, Mr. Reagen Allen. MEC, thank you so much for joining us this evening. Have you received any updates really relating to the killing of the officer, and what can you tell us at this stage?
Alicia, thank you so much for asking for the conversation. I was at pains listening to the National Minister. Impoundments are strictly in terms of the National Land and Transport Act, and that is when there's certain conditions where taxi operators are clearly violating the law or driving under the influence of alcohol, or where they are engaging in reckless or negligent driving. Taxis willy-nilly being impounded, but I was at pains listening to her. I would not want to delve further into that particular conversation, but the one thing I know is that last night I was devastated, Alicia, that a LEAP officer was brutally gunned down. The weapons that was used in that particular killing speaks to R5s, speaks to automatic firearms. I can confirm that a number of persons of interest are being currently tracked, because in my engagement earlier in person with our district police commissioner and with the city of Cape Town, we have also established a task team to ensure that those perpetrators are held accountable. The city of Cape Town has also rewarded or put on reward the maximum amount of 250,000 rand for any information that leads to the arrest of these culprits. And Alicia, it will be remiss of me to not mention that last week Sunday, a LEAP officer, a law enforcement officer, was also gunned down due to a bullet. I can confirm in that particular case, a perpetrator, a person of interest, is already in custody and he is appearing in court on Monday. So I am delighted that that particular person has been tracked. It happened in Mitchell's Plain, but he was tracked in another suburb called Grassy Park. And we are trusting that the perpetrators in this particular murder of a LEAP officer last night will be quickly apprehended, because we are wanting to see law and order. We are wanting to see criminals behind bars.
MEC, I'm actually glad that you actually weighed in on what, of course, the Transport Minister had just said there, because I was going to ask for your comment on that. Yesterday, I actually read out the actual bylaws that have been instituted or, of course, given to the taxi industry by the city. Now, do you feel that there is maybe a misunderstanding between the city and, of course, the taxi operators when it comes to what the whole reason behind those bylaws are and why they feel that they cannot respect them? Because as we heard, these are basically in line with the national bylaws.
Thank you, Alicia. I used the word earlier on that I'm at pains. The word that probably would have been more accurate was that I was gobsmacked at the comments that was made, considering that there is national laws, and this particular bylaw speaks directly to the fact that we are wanting to ensure that taxi operators operate within the confines of the law. Alicia, from here where I'm from, less than 2 months ago, there was a horrible taxi accident that led to 7 young people losing their lives. When taxi operators have the destiny, have the entire future of our commuters in there. And when any person gets into public transport, that person must want to get to his or her destination safe. So we want our taxi operators to operate within the confines of the law, that they are not transgressing the rules of the road, because it ultimately speaks to road fatalities, and we are wanting law and order in our country. And the specific question that you have asked about the misunderstanding, I think it boils down to the fact that every operator, whenever they get their permit, Alicia, they sign the terms of agreement. So they are fully aware of the permit They are fully aware of the requirements that they need to uphold in signing that particular permit, which is a business. A taxi operator is a business. We are not wanting to stifle business opportunities. We are wanting to grow the economy, but we all our residents, all our businesses to operate within the confines of the law. Kathy,
all right.
We have too often seen where taxi operators blatantly disregard the rules of the road. It's a major hazard. It leads to so many fatalities, and this particular piece of legislation is being enacted because it's for the safety of the residents. We have spoken to so many committed drivers that are also at pains because the committed drivers on our road are also at pains because they often hear of all the negative sentiments attached to public transport when we often hear that all the operating the same. It's not everyone. There's a few of them that is causing havoc on our roads.
You know, MEC, I spoke to, of course, the national spokesperson for Santaco yesterday. And, of course, they did mention that it's not that they are encouraging, of course, people not to respect the rule of law, but they're saying going as far as impounding taxis themselves instead of arresting the drivers and giving them fines and tickets, maybe that should be the way to go. Has Santaco itself come out to then engage with you and try and find not only the perpetrators in relation to the killing of the officer, but also work closely with you to ensure that criminal elements are not associated with the strike, where they'll be blamed and held responsible for the killings now?
You are asking so many relevant questions, and I highly appreciate it, because I think it's so vital that there is clear communication on this particular matter. Alicia, the National Land and Traffic Act is being used. It's not necessarily the bylaw. There has never been any impoundment in terms of the bylaw. It is national legislation. Responsible for mobility or transport here in the Western Cape have had a number of engagements. There is a taxi task team that has also been instituted, and the MEC, Ricardo McKenzie, has been leading that. Santaco then left the table. They then decided to not form part of that particular ongoing discussions, because we are fully aware that whenever there's discussions, when there's negotiations, it can never be about where we are going to not want to enforce the law. The law is typically there to protect us. The law is there to protect each and every person, and we can never say that we will not enforce the law. But it is a national piece of legislation, and my sincere trust is, even Kathy, that that particular piece of legislation will even be used across our country. We are hearing too many times of road fatalities across our country, and the National Minister of Transport will be in good stead if she would be reading up on the national piece of legislation and actually encouraging other provinces to also ensure that law and order is maintained and that enforcement happen. Because whenever we are not going to enforce the law, it leads to anarchy, and we can never, under no circumstances, allow for our roads to be unsafe.
MEC, thank you so much. We're going to leave it there. That was Western Cape MEC of Police Oversight and Community Safety, Mr. Reagen Allen, and of course he was weighing in on the ongoing taxi strike.